Why worry? Each of us is wearing an unlicensed nuclear accelerator on his back. Here's your look at the new Hasbro. This is the Ghostbusters Plasma Series, Peter Venkman. Peter Venkman, the man with the mouth. Peter can convince almost anybody of almost anything. I must say it's rather nice to be seeing new Ghostbuster toys hitting retail store shelves. Mind you, that would be what I would say if I could actually find these in retail store shelves. Here in Canada, it seems like we've gotten nothing. No real Ghostbusters, no. No Ghostbusters Plasma Series, no. Ended up having to pick up these ones online. And the bitter pill, of course, to swallow is, of course, the fact I had to pay a little bit extra for these because I had to order them online. Needless to say, though, that's not going to sour my experience of these figures. Pete Venkman stands 5.6 inches in height, and that in centimeters makes a figure that's 14.3, almost 14.5 centimeters tall. Next, we'll have a look at some size comparisons, and unfortunately, I don't have the Matty Collector Ghostbuster figures anymore. I've long since parted ways with those, disappointed and soured by the direction that they ended up going with that line. But I do have the next thing, maybe perhaps the next best thing. We'll just bring over the Plasma Series Pete Venkman, slide him over to the side. We'll bring in the Diamond Select Pete Venkman, who has unfortunately a neutrino wand that just doesn't want to stay attached to the Proton Pack. There is definitely a big size difference between the two. There's definitely a big color difference between the two. I'm sure we'll probably be bringing Pete Venkman back in, at least the Diamond Select release one, when we get a closer look at the details that come included with the new Hasbro release. Just before doing that, though, the first one we're going to have a look at is the Build-A-Piece that comes included with Venkman, and that is the part of the Terror Dog. This is for the Vince Clortho Build-A-Terror Dog. I don't even know if that's actually what it says on the packaging, but it is just of a hind leg. I think it's the back hind leg of the Terror Dog, with, of course, the ones in the front being slightly larger. Technically, this is also the third time I think that we've gotten ourselves a Terror Dog. The NECA release, the Diamond Select release. I'm trying to think of actually if Matty Collector ever released a Terror Dog. Not that I really care. It does have some mild posability to it. It's also a little bit darker than, say, the NECA release. About the same color as the one that came included with the Diamond Select line that I'll have to find somewhere in my tickle trunk and bring that out when it comes time to, of course, compare the different Terror Dogs. I keep doing this. I don't know why I'm just obsessed with moving the hind leg. As you can see, the back moves and it rotates. The foot, of course, bends and, you know, ankle pivot and all that stuff. I mean, it's not really too much to get excited about. I'm not going to start writing a letter and sending it home telling my mom and dad how excited I am for the hind leg of the Terror Dog. It is what it is. Like I said, it's just the leg. So we're going to put it to the side and we'll have a look at the other accessories that come included with the figure. The figure does come included with a ghost trap. A nice touch to see that, of course, the Ghostbusters equipment is making appearances and popping up with the new Ghostbusters line from, of course, Hasbro. The downside, though, unfortunately, though, is the underside of the trap, though, to be fair, it's not probably an area that you're ever really going to look at anyways. It is very hollow. Very, very hollow indeed. I wonder why it actually says 2 on the inside. Might have something to do with, of course, the mold cast of it. But it does have wheels, not rolling, of course, not painted either. The side plates are painted in silver. That's a nice touch on both sides. With included the little vented areas here, that these are red or silver depending on the film. The front has no paint whatsoever, just relying only on the mold of the black plastic. And there's the little switches and the button that would flash red at the back. Again, no detailing found other than just, of course, the sculpting of the ghost trap. So as it stands, it's not bad. It can certainly fit into Pete's hand. I feel like I have to know him personally to call him Pete. But it does fit into his hand. You just sort of navigate the handle in between the fingers and the palm, and he holds it in place like that. There is unfortunately no other place that the ghost trap attaches to. This little peg hole located on the side happens to be the same belt that's going to come included with Egon Spengler, and he comes with a PKE meter that's going to plug into place there. On Pete Venkman, it's pretty much useless, unless you do happen to just want to pillage Spengler's and use the PKE meter, and you can plug that into Pete Venkman's belt. Like I said, there is no area that you can attach the. No, you can't attach. You get the idea. You can't attach the ghost trap. It's a bit of a shame, like they could have easily just put a peg right there. A peg that wasn't low enough to start scraping the surface, along, you know, because of course you wouldn't want to have it lower than the wheels, but at least enough that it could have attached, you know, just like that. But it doesn't have that. The other thing, of course, that comes included with the figure is the Proton Pack, which we'll have a look at right now. Put the figure down for 1 second. We'll be going back and revisiting. I don't know why I have him facing the other way. But there is the Proton Pack. To at least the credit of Hasbro, I have to say that they devised a more smarter, simpler way of attaching the neutrino wand. See, there's a little square opening on the back. There's a little square peg right there, or somewhat square. You kind of know how the two go together. You just attach the neutrino wand, or proton wand, and you can just attach it to the side right there. And that at least is good. If we bring in, and I really don't want to do a comparison back and forth, but I'm sure it's something you guys want to certainly see. If you look at the Diamond Select release, Diamond's definitely put a lot more paint in their Proton Pack. Wow, I just spat all over everybody. Definitely have a lot more paint going on for it. Peter has the noted single red of circles there out of the possible 4 located down below. Even like the wires have the multicolor of rainbow colors, whereas, yeah, unfortunately, the Hasbro release doesn't have that. Again, I kind of really wish in a way that I would have kept a lot of the Mattel releases of the Ghostbusters, as I could certainly do a full comparison of every single figure that they've released. But unfortunately, I don't have that. So yeah, as it goes, I mean, I will say points should be awarded probably to the Diamond Select release. That's just having a more superior looking Proton Pack. Until, of course, you get to the point where you want to attach the neutrino wand. Next to impossible is probably the words I would be uttering or hearing other people utter. It's basically like a triangular ledge that in theory is supposed to sit against this triangular peg. You sort of slide it down, but it never seems to stay in place. A lot of times when you think you have it, it sure enough just falls right off again. I've been so frustrated, it seems, trying to get this neutrino wand to stay in place. I've almost even considered the idea. There we go. Finally. Whoosh. But I've been considering the idea of actually just finding a different way of attaching that. I don't know what I would actually use. Maybe I'll even put a hole. I don't really want to start tweaking too much of it. But like I said, the neutrino wand on the Diamond Select release was much more difficult, and it never seemed to stay in place. Anyways, though, if you are looking for this particular release, we'll come back to that one over there. All you have to actually do on this one, kind of in the same way of G.I. Joe's, the Proton Pack has a peg located on the back, a rather hollow-looking Proton Pack too. But you're basically just going to fit this over his shoulders like that, and then you're going to take his arm. You can kind of actually do this all together, really. Take his arm, feed that through, feed this over his head just like that. It's like dressing a small child. And then just bring the arm up like that. And then you're going to take this peg and line it up to the hole. You guys are smart. You know where this is going. And that's just going to basically fit. Oh, I want to make sure I get his full arm in place. There we go. You're going to take the peg and just plug it in just like that. And just nice firm press. And you've got yourself a Proton Pack that's not going anywhere. To, of course, finish the look, you at least can go ahead and there's this little flap of plastic with an open circle and a circle right there. Simple kindergarten lessons will tell you to fit the circle into the hole, and now you've got yourself the Proton Pack not going anywhere. To be fair, really, it wasn't going to be going anywhere anyways. The way it was pegged into his back, it stays perfectly in place. And the more easier route to go just has the peg, like I said, that attaches the neutrino wand to the side. One thing I really wish that Diamond Select could have done, of the things that I praise the company for doing when it comes to at least their Ghostbuster figures, attaching the neutrino wand certainly was not one of them. Other things on Pete Venkman is that he does, I feel so awkward calling him Pete Venkman. I feel like I want to call him professionally Peter Venkman. He does have the Walkie-Talkie, although it is not removable. And really, there's nothing else on this particular figure that is removable, to the praise then of the Diamond release. Remember, they had the little removable walkie-talkies and stuff like that. As for the head sculpt on Peter Venkman, one thing I do want to bring in is the packaging artwork, just for 1 second. Something I don't tend to do too often. But I want to show you what could have been versus what we actually got. These are on the back, I'm guessing, 3D models of what the characters were actually going to look like when they were produced. Somewhere along the lines, I feel like there was maybe something that was slipped on the figure. Well, I do feel like the 3D version of Pete Venkman actually looks a little bit better than we actually get. I'm surprised with how much hair that they've actually sculpted onto the figure itself. Again, bringing in the comparison of the Diamond Select release, you look at the two side by side, there is still a hard-pressed argument to make that neither of them really look like Bill Murray. I almost even feel, though, of the two, the Diamond pulls it off better. Let me just tilt the head a little bit so you guys can see. I think the likeness is definitely superior on Diamond's release, looking what I feel is a more closer, accurate look to what Bill Murray looks like in the film. I even feel like the hair is a little bit better, more receding than the one that Hasbro gave us. The costumes, if you look at the two as well, it's a very bright costume on the Hasbro release versus the more movie-accurate colors, even right down to the dirt and brine that they added to the costume. Like, there's a lot of just, it looks like it's a used outfit, whereas this one looks like he literally just pulled it from the closet. And I certainly don't want to do comparisons this whole entire review, but it's just to show you how two different toy companies can approach the same franchise. Again, my vote for at least this figure, Venkman figure, that might very well change when we look at the other ones. I do feel like Diamond may have delivered a better looking Peter Venkman. That's just personally my opinion. One thing that I will say to the credit of these ones is that I feel like these figures are a little bit more user-friendly. What I mean by that is that these are figures that you can pick up and you can do more stuff with. They have a little bit more of a simplified look. Like Peter Venkman's face, first of all, I feel like the hair is a little too wide. I would have pulled that back a little bit. I mean, it's close enough to resemble Bill Murray that you sort of know who it is. Obviously, the telltale sign is the fact it says Venkman on the front of his jacket. The outfit is also much like his head, very softened. Like the facial features seem very soft on this particular head sculpt. And equally so, I feel like the colors are very soft on the costume as well, coming across much more like an off-white to the closer beige color that the jumpsuits actually have in the film. He does have at least the shiny gloves. That's a nice touch. And of course, with the version of Peter Venkman's costume, he has, of course, the jumpsuit running past the point of tucking him into his boots. Instead, they drape full out. The sculpt done to it, overall, not bad at all. I feel like the costume is decent. The elbow pads here are black, whereas the ones that would have come from Diamond would have been the more grayish color. Now, one thing with the Diamond, it's certainly not all going to be praise. One thing that was difficult about these particular figures is that because the elbow pads were separate pieces, like it always kind of felt like they were in the way. And equally so, it always felt like the backpack, the Proton Pack, was always shifting around on these figures. These are figures great for displaying, but I think when it comes down to playing with these figures, which is obviously what their intended plan is, I feel like these ones, in hand, are a little bit more user-friendly. That's what, again, I mean by that. I mean, like, the Proton Pack isn't going to be going anywhere. It's very simple to remove. It's very simple to detach the proton wand or neutrino wand. Everything on these figures are a little bit more easier to handle, easier to play with, and certainly as a kid picking these ones up, I think the kids would probably enjoy these more so, because you can not roughhouse with them, but you have a little bit more flexibility for what you can actually do with them. The articulation on Peter Venkman, his head rotates all the way around. You can also hinge it up and down, and you can rotate it or hinge it back and forth. The arms very freely move way past the point of 90 degrees, and you can also rotate them all the way around. Sometimes, though, yes, well, you are rotating the arms, the neutrino wand will pop itself and free itself from the Proton Pack, but sure, it's a lot easier to put that back in place, unlike the Diamond's release. The arms swivel. There's basically a cut at the top of the bicep. You can swivel the arms all the way around, really, if you wanted to. He does have a double hinge on the elbow. In addition to that, he also can rotate the hands all the way around. No issues there. He does have a waist ball joint, which is nice. I'm actually kind of glad that they went the route of ball jointing these as opposed to just swiveling the figure's torso. So again, you can kind of move and manipulate them a little bit more freer than perhaps, again, like the Diamond's release. Legs split out quite easily, forward and back on the legs. He does have a swivel on the 3/4 cut of the thigh, a double hinge on the knee, there it is right there. And Peter Venkman also does have articulation in the foot. I wonder if anyone's taken a tally as to how many times I've said Peter Venkman in this review. Overall, it's again a very interesting looking figure. Again, if I could kind of go down a checklist of what makes a better looking Ghostbusters figure, I feel again like if I take the Diamond Select release, get that blasted neutrino wand in place, move this figure over, I feel like the Diamond release is a little bit more movie accurate. Though I will say with Peter Venkman's head sculpt, though I do feel it is a superior head sculpt, he does have a little bit more of a very bleached out skin complexion, which I do like the warmer colors that they actually use for the Hasbro release. The costume on the Diamond release I think is a little bit better as well, a little bit more movie accurate. So it really comes down to your own personal preference. The Hasbro release, to their credit, being that, again, you have a smaller figure, a little bit more easier to play with, and that really is, at the end of the day, what's the most important. These are geared towards not only collectors, but also kids, and I feel like kids will have an easier time playing around with these Ghostbuster figures than the ones that were released by Diamond Select. My goal over the course of this review was certainly not to sing the praises of Diamond Select's previous Ghostbusters line, but more or less just to show you how two different companies can approach the same franchise. Both Diamond and Hasbro has pros and cons to their Ghostbuster figures. Pros for Diamond was I feel like it has a better looking likeness to Bill Murray. Pros to Hasbro's version of Pete Venkman, I feel like they have a more vibrant color scheme to his face, something that seemed very bleached out on the Diamond Select release. Diamond had a closer looking jumpsuit than the one released by Hasbro, but Hasbro has an easier to attach Proton Pack and Neutrino Wand, which really for a kid to be able to pick up and play, that's the most crucial thing. Yes, I do feel perhaps I may have picked the wrong character to start these Ghostbusters reviews with, because it almost seemed as if I was focusing more on the praises of another company instead of this one. But I do feel like maybe Pete Venkman has the less accurate portrait, let's just say that. It's close enough to looking like Bill Murray, but you know that something is just a little bit off on it. As I said though, one good thing about this line that has things working in its favor is, again, if kids are picking up these and wanting to play with their Ghostbuster figures, they are definitely more user-friendly. There doesn't feel like there's things flopping around on it, unlike the stuff that we were getting from Diamond Select. So really, again, it's just a matter of opinion. Your opinion may be different than mine, and that's perfectly fine and completely fine. One thing, though, I will say to Diamond's credit, lastly, just talking about Diamond, is that they did throw everything they could into that Ghostbusters line, giving us dioramas of the firehouse, of course, that rooftop where Dana Barrett's apartment was. And of course they released a lot of the ghosts as well. I'm hoping there's longevity in the Hasbro's line, so that not only are we going to be getting the straight 4 Ghostbusters, Zuul, Dana Barrett, and Gozer, I'm hoping we're also going to start seeing some other ghosts as well. Go the same route as previous companies before them and give us the Slime Blower Ghostbusters, give us, like I said, the various, maybe the Scolari brothers. All those kind of things are things I definitely want to see, including an Ecto-1 that both Matty Collector and Diamond Select never produced. You never know. But what do you guys think of the new Hasbro Plasma Series figures? And most importantly, what do you guys think of Peter Venkman? Let me know down below in the comments section. Also, if you guys are new to this channel and liking the content, maybe you'd like to stay on board and see more future content, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below, turn the bell notification on, and stay tuned because there's going to be a lot of videos coming your way. Of course, we are going to be looking at the rest of the Ghostbusters making up this first wave, and through the process of doing that, hopefully we're going to be building a terror dog. Let's hope. As always, guys, thanks for watching as you always do, and I'll see you next time.